Church means to me that it's a place to meet others and a place of worship.
Okay.
And a place of celebrations.
Okay.
Weddings.
Okay.
Christenings.
All right.
People.
You get to see Anne and people like that, don't you?
Yeah.
People in the village.
Okay.
The biscuits. If they had more bell ringing. Cafe church.
What?
The crafts.
Oliver just shouted the bacon sandwiches at Cafe Church. The other thing you said about the church, he said that he likes the history of the building and how interesting it
Okay.
is, and the stained glass windows.
Right.
Yeah, he did last night.
Last
He said
night
stained
was
glass
quite-
windows.
And he likes the history of the church, didn't he? And that it's old and that lots of different things. But the roof needs cleaning, yeah.
To me, it's a place of fond memories, really. I've been going to church all my life since I was little. My parents were always involved in the church, and Dad was church warden for probably 25 plus years, so we always went every week. But it's always been particularly Rochford to me personally, it's been a sort of nice, beautiful, sort of little, peaceful little church, and the place is sort of regular worship for us.
I think it's probably the centre of the community. I think most churches are the centre of the community. I think even if you have a village hall that is often in the centre, I think most people distinguish a church being that centre, even though a village might be separated across, it's always that centre bit. I think Oliver, we talked to Oliver, our son, yesterday, and he said the history of the church is really important to him, and the oldness of the buildings, the stained glass windows and all those kind of things which you maybe don't necessarily get on a modern kind of church. So I think it is a centre of the community, and I think it is a generation gap thing, because young people can meet up with older people, and sort of, so especially our kids have got friends with a lot of the older population, and they see them now all the time and things like that, and they wouldn't have had that link if it wasn't for the church. There's no pub in the village or anything like that, particularly our village, so there's nowhere else really to meet other community folks, and I think the church is probably, along with like village halls and stuff like that, but I think churches are probably the big thing of it, there.
Brilliant. Now,
I think things that are precious to church, probably particularly for you, is a lot of your family are buried there and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always, we like our family's been in the village for ages, so that our local church, Rochford, is we've got family buried there, and we often regularly go and visit graves, so there's fond but sad memories as well, but for us we've got really happy memories at the church as well, because we got married there, I've been christened there, all our 3 children have been christened there, so there's really happy memories as well. I think to make sure that it certainly doesn't disappear, and that there's always a congregation, and trying to bring youth into that congregation as well and into the church is really important to us, to try and encourage our children to go, because otherwise if people don't go it'll just disappear, and that's really important to me, and making sure that the church is there to help people in need in the community.
I probably think a big thing is not having the threat of constant closure of churches generally, because that constantly kind of keeps on coming up each year, and I think that kind of puts a pressure on the church community, even though it's quite small, to constantly have to kind of almost justify itself. This is probably what we're having to do a bit anyway, isn't it? To justify the church being here. And I think there is lots of different things you can do, and there's lots of cafe churches and stuff like that, which obviously kind of bring in the kids and bring in a lot of craft things, but they might be necessarily not in the church, but they're all kind of part of the church, and and I think children going to regular churches is kind of really important, and I think if that can be local to you and it can be part of the village community, I think it's kind of really important. So I think that does help. I think you've also got to think about the maintenance of churches, haven't you, and all those kind of things, which are obviously a big kind of thing for the future of it. Yeah, I can't see much of that. Well, I can't see any little village without a church really, because it's kind of is the centre. You kind of get a bit of pride, don't you, when you go walking and you kind of see the church and the lovely views from it and things like that. I think you get a bit of a sense of pride that you're part of that community. I would have thought. I think obviously bigger congregation numbers would kind of help. It's going to help anything, isn't it? Because the pressure of everybody gets a lot of trouble to put services together, and there's a lot of work goes into the reading and obviously putting things together for it. And then if a small number turn up, that's quite disappointing for the person that's obviously doing the church service and the participants. So I think that is an issue. I certainly do. But I think having regular services that are, and having different things like cafe churches and stuff like that do make a difference to things. I think probably having a group of churches together does really help, because you meet people from other villages, you meet, small communities don't necessarily have a lot of younger children in them and things like that, so you do get to know different people that you'd never really get to know otherwise. So I think having a lot of smaller churches into one bit does make it. And I think having a regular vicar that isn't miles away and is kind of part of the community is a really important concept, really, and not have so many shares between, and having Julia at the moment obviously in the past other people does make a difference to kind of if you needed support or anything like that, then I think that does make a big difference rather than having a bigger community. You said the church fate was important to you, wasn't it, Oliver? That was another thing you said. Because you were really disappointed you were missing it this year.